Hello and welcome to the dang it.
Hello and welcome to Dang It. This is an
Yes.
episode of Jackass.
Hello and welcome to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. Couple of jackasses here, Silver and
No! Chaotic! Hi, my name's Chaotic, and you're watching Jackass. Great. Anyways.
That is the non-trademark jackass. We are actually
We're Ash Jack.
dang. Yes, Ass Jack. I was going to put a Shakespeare reference in there, but I completely forgot his name.
Oh?
I think it was Bottom.
I'm sorry, what?
There's a Shakespeare character that turns into a donkey.
Oh,
I think his name was Bottom.
that makes sense.
I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I read Shakespeare, or mainly watched YouTube videos on it. Our topic today is Quetzalcoatl.
Oh my.
The names in this episode are going to be very difficult to pronounce.
And if
for
we butcher
me.
them, we do not intend to.
Yes.
We do our best. We are not language experts by any means.
It is hard enough for us to English. So chaotic.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Quetzalcoatl?
I actually have. If you asked me anything about it, no. But when you showed me the image, I've seen the image. I've seen that places. Whether or not it was just like a reference or like thrown in a movie or something, I have.
He is very popular in media today and in literature. Would you like me to tell you some stuff about him?
Always.
So, for those of you who do not know who Quetzalcoatl is, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. I've seen it. I think Quetzalcoatl is closest I can pronounce it, but he is a winged serpent, aka flying snake.
AKA everybody's worst fear. Okay. Unlocked. Let's go.
I've seen some people actually refer to him as a dragon, like one of those legless dragons.
His form is very dragon-like.
Yes, in some of the depictions I've seen, he is more dragon than snake, but back in then, snakes and dragons looked alike. His name is based on Quetzal, which is a type of bird with bright emerald green feathers. I think they also have blue feathers sometimes. And Coatl, which means serpent. So, feathered serpent. The feathered serpent isn't really the only depiction of him, as he can also take a form of a man.
Spicy.
Mm-hmm. Usually it's a bearded man, and usually he has around his neck like a breastplate with spiraling wind jewels on it to kind of represent. They said sometimes it represents like hurricanes and wind, as he was known to be a god of the wind.
Oh, fancy.
But he was also a god of other things as well. So Quetzalcoatl is very old, and he's gained more and more titles, jobs over the time. So he is said to also be the god of the sun, Venus, merchants, arts, crafts, knowledge, and learning. Sometimes farming as well. He just kind of kept gaining all these titles and jobs. Is probably also due to the fact that Quetzalcoatl was in a lot of the. Did I say where Quetzalcoatl's from?
No, you did not.
Okay. In case anybody was wondering, since I forgot to mention it earlier, Quetzalcoatl is Aztec. He is Mesoamerica. So, like, that'd be Central America, like Northern, South America, and Southern North America, I believe, is where that area is. His earliest known depictions that they found is of him was between 400 BC and 600 AD, estimated range. But yeah, that entire area all had kind of their own version of Quetzalcoatl. So that's another reason why he's got so many jobs. Believe it or not, this god, kind of like Greek gods, was actually born. He does have parents. But as in many myths that are this old, they are varied widely. A couple ways that he is said to have been born is that Quetzalcoatl was born by a virgin named Chamalamen, whom the god Omatotl appeared in a dream. In another story, the virgin Chamalan conceived Quetzalcoatl by swallowing an emerald. And the third way, I think you'll like this one, a story says that Chamalan was hit in the womb by an arrow shot by Mixicatl, and 9 months later she gave birth to a child, which was called Quetzalcoatl.
Oh my gosh. She's the original play on words.
Yep. The original virgin birth.
Yeah.
That probably would not feel very good getting shot in the womb by an arrow. Okay, according to another version of the myth, Quetzalcoatl is one of the four sons of Ometeculi and Omequixotl, and each of whom presides over one of the four cardinal directions. So Quetzalcoatl rules over the west and is the god of light, justice, mercy, and wind. Over the south is another sibling, Huitzpochtli, the god of war. Over the east presides Totec, the god of gold, farming, and springtime. North presides Tezcatlipoca, known by no other name, and is the god of judgment, night, deceit, sorcery, and the earth.
Those names are definitely difficult. So, absolutely understand that.
Yeah. I don't remember what their actual language the names are in is called. It's an older language. Some people say that it's been seen both ways as well, that Quetzalcoatl disliked human sacrifices, and some people say that he liked human sacrifices as well. Just a random fact there.
We love random facts. Random fact enjoyers, indeed.
And in one of the myths, the stories coming up that I got down, Quetzalcoatl dies and turns into Venus, but they say that he can also be reincarnated, or not. He'll come back. So there's two people they say was possibly Quetzalcoatl coming back. Both not very likely, depending on who you talk to. Can you guess the two?
Can I have a hint?
You've definitely heard of one of their names.
Oh, thank you. That was so good. Tell me, surprise me.
Okay.
Throw it at me.
So historically wise, in the 16th century, a lot of people believe that Hernan Cortez, the conquistador, when he came to the area, was the reincarnation of Quetzalcoatl. But the now contested fact of this is that no one believed he was before the conquistadors actually came into the area. So it's believed that they rewrote some of the Aztec history, saying that he was going to be the reincarnation of it, which sounds a lot like what normally happens with myths.
Generally.
And another one is Jesus Christ.
Listen, I need to understand more about that one.
It was according to the Book of Mormon, the resurrected Jesus Christ descended from the heavens and visited the people of the American continent. Shortly after his resurrection, some of the followers of the Latter day Saints movement believed that Quetzalcoatl was historically Jesus Christ. He's a man
What a
who
leap.
came back down. He was bearded. A lot of people followed him. Quetzalcoatl was also the god of priesthood. I'm not sure how widely it's accepted in the Mormon community, but it's a thing.
That's interesting. I mean, that stands by my very contested idea that the Bible is like a intricate fiction book written by the apostles. So, I mean, it would be neat to know that other people also think that he is Aztec. It would just
Yeah.
be interesting.
Shall we move on to story time?
Yes.
Okay, some stories about Quetzalcoatl that might help understand him a little more. There's a cycle in Aztec lore, mythology, about how the sun is, we're on the fifth sun right now. So the sun was created, some sort of natural disaster happened, wiped out the sun and all life with it. The gods created another sun, same thing, natural disaster happened, wiped them out. Third sun, fourth sun, same thing happened. During each of these suns, there's different things alive on Earth. Some people, from what I've seen, said that during some of the suns, there was like giants roaming the Earth. There was elves. There was dwarves. There was humans, but not good humans. During the fourth sun, they took the human bones and made them into monkeys. That's kind of the like quick notes on there why we're on the fifth sun right now. But during this time, Quetzalcoatl had to go to the underworld in order to get the people's bones back. In order to do this, he snuck into the underworld, met with Mekatan, which is known as Mektalan, and tricked the underworld gods of there in order to get the bones of the humans back. Quetzalcoatl struck a deal with the gods of death. They agreed to give him the bones if he could make a sound by blowing into a conch shell that had no holes in it.
No holes in it.
No holes in it.
0 holes.
Yep. Well, he managed to do this. Can you guess how?
Magic. It's a magic conch, isn't it?
Close.
For those of you who understood that SpongeBob reference, we're now best friends. Thank you.
Well, he started by putting some worms on the conch, and the worms drilled a hole in the shell. And then he shoved bees inside this conch. This successfully tricked Lord and Lady Death, since he did technically make a sound with the conch. And they did agree to give him the bones, but he wanted to trick them even further. So what he did is Quetzalcoatl, told them that he would leave the underworld without the bones. But before Quetzalcoatl could escape with the bones, even though he told them he was going to leave them, they figured out that he was deceiving them. And as he was running, they made a big pit appear in front of him, and he fell down into this very deep pit, which scattered all the bones and mixing male and female bones up, mixing all the bones. And it is said that when the bones were shuffled, the corn he was carrying and his blood mixed with the bones to create people, which is why people come in many different sizes and shapes. It's because our bones are mixed.
That's probably one of the more like interesting lore parts that I've heard about our monsters and myths and mayhems.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets even wilder.
Excuse me?
Quetzalcoatl has some different stories with him. He's the one that gave the Aztecs maize, which is corn. So, according to legend, the Aztecs were just eating roots and wild game. So, because at the time, maize was located on the other side of a mountain range, and they could not go there and get it. Many other gods tried this. They tried destroying these mountains and couldn't do it. They tried lifting the mountains and couldn't do it. But Quetzalcoatl was smart. He found maize being brought over by some red ants. So he himself transformed into a black ant and followed the red ants. And he brought maize back to the people.
Listen, I feel like this story's not real because red ants are not that cool. You know what I mean? they're just not.
Usually very bitey.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bitey.
Here's a story about him in his human form. So, Quetzalcoatl was the ruler of the city. And It's famously known that Quetzalcoatl has beef with his brother Tezcatlipoca, also known as the Black Jaguar. Under Quetzalcoatl's rule, the city flourished because he was a wise, scholarly leader. So Tezcatlipoca was not happy with this and plotted against him. So one night, his brother and him, they were having a big party, and Tezcatlipoca just kept feeding Quetzalcoatl these drinks. Well, I've heard like it was one night of drinks, and sometimes I heard it was like a week of drinking straight, pretty much. So he was drunk.
Drunk.
Mm-hmm. It was alcohol made from agave. I'm not sure how much alcohol content's in there, but he was so drunk that he ended up sleeping with his celibate priestess sister.
The way you described that made me think of when people were like, it was my mother's brother's cousin's brother.
It did kind of sound like that, didn't it?
It did. Like, it was far more simple than that, but it was just, I guess, the way it was said and like in the story, it just made it sound like we were headed down a path of relatives that I wasn't going to be able to keep a track of.
Nope, it was just his sister was a celibate priestess. He was so ashamed of what he had done that he set out for the sea. And from here, the story splits. He either cremated himself, spent 8 days in the underworld before reemerging as Venus, the morning star, or some people say that he took all his followers, split the ocean, and walked along the floor. That was all my stories for Storytime. On to media. Do you have any media with Quetzalcoatl?
I don't specifically know, but I can't wait to hear some of it because I'm like I said, I've seen this before, so I'm excited to see if I recognize any of the media.
Okay, so we'll start with some anime and manga. So he's in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, which the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D series, if you're not familiar with that, I'm not sure how long you were into Yu-Gi-Oh!
I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! For about 3 years.
So probably just Yu-Gi-Oh!, not any of the next generation.
No, I've not been through any of the next generation.
Well, I believe 5Ds is the third iteration where they're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On motorcycles. Each one of the main characters was part of a special group called Signers, and they each had their own sign that made up a dragon. I believe the dragon was Quetzalcoatl, but I'm sure Mondi and Mage will call me out on it if I'm wrong. He was also in Beyblade's Metal Fusion, Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia, and Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Fate Grand Order and Miss Kobayashi depicted Quetzalcoatl as a female presenting dragon deity, while most of the stories kind of depicted him as male in the mythology. In video game wise, he's in a lot of Final Fantasy games, like most of our creatures. Sanitarium, he's in Smite, Fate Grand Order, TVs. He showed up in Star Trek the Animated Series. Also, he was in the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel books and in season 3 of the Animal Planet mockumentary Lost Tapes, as well as having his own kind of movie in 1982 called Q. He was a monster that terrorized New York City.
Imagine. It's always New York.
Yeah.
Always.
New York just happens to be the city everybody goes for. So media wasn't really the only thing Quetzalcoatl got himself into. He also got a dinosaur named after him. So there's a pterosaur that was found in that area, discovered in 1971, and they called it Quetzalcoatlus, and it stood nearly 10 feet tall with a wingspan of 36 feet. I believe it's the biggest pterosaur found.
Yeah, surprisingly, I don't really recognize any of the media like I thought I would. It must have been like in a movie or something where it was like background, I guess. I don't really know.
Very possible could. I might have missed something as well, but
I'm sure there's tons of it out there. But yeah, I didn't specifically catch anything. But I think if you guys don't look this up off the podcast, I think a lot of us would kind of feel familiarity with his symbol, like the symbol that like the one you showed me, like the the original one you showed me of him eating the man. I've definitely seen that, and obviously like Aztec artwork, a lot of the same colors and stuff are used. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just me knowing other Aztec gods and like stories.
It's very possible since he is one of the main ones. Shall we move on to some mayhem?
Yes. I would like to know what you think about mayhem, and what you think like we usually do, like if there's one or if there's many. Which I think in the story, like no matter what, there's one. Just because it's like a like you said, it's like there's like a reincarnation and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but like if there say there was like a handful of them, like how would you feel mayhem wise if there was more than just the one?
I feel like if there is more than just one, he wouldn't be like the deity status. They might put him like I think in the Final Fantasy, and he's more of a just a winged serpent. So I don't think they have quite the same deity powers. But if they did have the same deity powers, I think they'd probably all get along with each other. And he seems to be a savior of humanity or helpful towards humanity. So I think he might try and make world peace. I think he'll probably bring world peace. Try to.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he seems to be connected to calendars and art, books, knowledge, priesthoods, wind. He's on good terms with his other two siblings, just not Tesalacapulca. I don't have the pronunciation in front of me right now. The Black Jaguar. He seems to get along with pretty much everybody else. And they say he was a wise ruler. Depending on which way he goes with human sacrifice, though, even with human sacrifice, it probably could be a good thing with the amount of people on the earth right now.
Oh my god, my freaking computer scared me again. I was like listening to your peaceful voice, and then my computer was like, "Doo."
I do not have a peaceful voice.
That's a lie. I was told by 2 different friends today that they love your voice.
I'm sorry, but I think they were lying to you on that part.
They were not.
They come for your voice.
No, they come from my jokes. Okay, I'm the comedic relief. You're like, I have all of this wholesome information and all these amazing things and facts, and I'm like, your mom.
Gotta have a good mixture of the both to be entertaining. Yeah, but that's my 2 cents. I think it'd be helpful, whether it's 1 or 100. I think they'd be more helpful than anything, even with human sacrifice.
I agree.
Now, I thought of a new game we could play.
Okay.
Are you interested?
Yes.
So this kind of moves in with mayhem and stuff, so I figured it'd work. But in today's society, if Quetzalcoatl was here, where would you place him? Like what role? Let's just go simple here. So
Okay.
in a world where the monsters are all high school students.
Okay. Oh, we're talking like clicks, like status quo.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Where would you place Quetzalcoatl?
He would be like the good jock. You know what I mean? Like, because there was the bully. Like, there was always like a bully jock, but then there was always that other jock that was like doing charity and shit, and like being a genuinely good dude to like people that deserved it. And I feel like that's where that's exactly who he'd be.
Okay. See, that's close about where I was thinking too.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking he'd be a library jock.
Okay, that's valid. That's valid. Like the jock that you don't expect to see sitting at a library table, but when you walk in.
Yeah. He's got all the random knowledge and he just uses it to help people with. And he's got the strength to back it up.
I like that. So yeah, but I feel like they file under the same. I feel like the guy I talked about would be the same. Like he would definitely read. He'd definitely be a reader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like combined, we got the same guy here. I feel like we're on the same vibes.
He's the community leader that everybody likes and chooses to be in charge of everything. Usually, yeah, he's that area. That's where I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So we were in agreement this time. So that was
that was good. That was good. We were on point. We had the same brain cell for a minute.
Oh, he's the library jock that secretly does demonic worship in his basement. Because he does the human sacrificing. Maybe. There's a rumor going around school. Well, that's the end of mayhem for me, I believe. Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think this was a very informed episode.
Wrapping it up with the outro. Thank you to our patrons, Mondi, Mage, Loki, Nuggies, Ruby. Thank you very much for supporting the podcast all these months. Chaotic with any news coming up?
No, we are still taking applications for our tournament. So if you guys like DBD and you like our tournaments that we host, please feel free to sign up. And if you don't want to sign up, we will be holding it at the end of August, and it is a charity for mental health. So stop by.
Do you know when your game's going to be?
Yes, our tournament will be on August 27th. And we're raising money for Stack Up, and it'll be from like noon till like 9 o'clock at night. There's a bunch of stuff you guys will be able to unlock and do, and it'll be a blast.
Would you like to hit us with an outro?
Yes.
But you got to do it mayhem. You got to rap the outro.
I am not rapping the outro, Silver. I love you so much, but no.
If you listeners would like to hear Chaotic rap the outro,
please Patreon us $100 because Silver's got me fucked up if I'm doing it for less than that. Thank you for listening to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. Silver and Chaotic take you into the depth of the lore and discuss how these legends could affect modern-day society. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or almost any podcast service easiest to you. Dive into the depths of chaos with us every Wednesday, bar Silver and Chaotic not missing their scheduling, and consider joining the podcast Discord or Twitter following for more insider looks and even some D&D sessions. If you'd like some extra special inside looks or even want to be a guest on the show, consider helping us via Patreon. Your help makes such a big difference to us both. Until next time, Mythics, you never know what kind of mayhem we might get into.
Message us on Twitter or Discord or in the review section.
Correct.
Where would you place Quetzalcoatl in your high school? Your high school?
Yeah, I'm interested to know if everybody's gonna be the same.
Peace.
Peace.